Hi, my name is Ryan McGinlay, and this is my Newsroom Assessment 1, the Devolved Newsroom. So, my story conception was that my highlighted article revolves around the rise of fan media within the social media spaces of Celtic and its supporters. It talks about how a growing number of supporters have turned their back on traditional media outlets in favour of new platforms such as podcasts, websites, and social spaces such as Twitter and Facebook. This was a particularly relevant story as over the past couple of years, many new platforms have become more popular due to the unrest at the club as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. In the last few decades, shifts in media technology and production have instead made fandom a central mode of consumption, said Duffett in 2013. So, why was I interested in this story? The reason I was interested in constructing this story is because I digested a lot of different fan media platforms during lockdown who shared the same opinion as myself on various issues. I was also interested thanks to my involvement in my own Celtic-minded podcast with my classmates, which my classmates and I started during the second lockdown. Finally, having a decent-sized following on Twitter made me think that this sort of story would resonate with a lot of the people who are connected to me on that platform. So in terms of the house style for this article would be perfect for an online publication given its short paragraphs and the way it is written. A publication such as 442 may be a good fit for this selected story as it would fit the targeted demographic of football fans and the writing style of the article. The paragraphs are short and spaced out, which makes the article perfect for an online publication to use efficiently and successfully. And Algo in 2021 said that the growing impact of social media has seen digital media overtake print media. So how did I source this story and its contacts? The article was mostly sourced through my own general knowledge on the area due to being a part of the community online. I noticed that there was a gap in the market for a story specifically focused on the Celtic fan media sector and its rise during lockdown. Using this to my advantage, I was able to source multiple sources from within the same sector as myself quite easily through emails and social media. I was able to interview podcasters from a Celtic state of mind and 4 times in a podcast over the Zoom platform in order to strengthen the quality of my article. So the main question is, were my interviews successful? All 3 of my interviews were a resounding success, and lots of the participants' contributions were used in the finished article. Since 2 podcasts were represented, there was more unique points of view rather than just the one same opinion dominating the article. And this in turn gave the article more balance and thus improved the piece as a whole in terms of validity and strength. So here is a picture of my finished article, which is on Wix to view. So what are the positives of working in a devolved newsroom? Personally, one of the positives of working remotely was the comfort of constructing my article and conducting my interviews at home rather than a pressure-filled environment like the newsroom. In particular, conducting interviews from home online put me at ease from any nerves that would arise from doing them in person. Patel et al. In 2020 said that the COVID-19 pandemic has forced the transition of the traditional residency interview to a virtual format. What are the negatives of working in a devolved newsroom? Well, one of the negatives of not being in an actual newsroom setting is you're on your own and left to your own devices for hours on end. This in turn can encourage lethargic behaviour and a lack of productivity due to not having authority figures such as editors, sub-editors or lecturers around to check up on you. Another negative is that although some interviews are face-to-face through Zoom, you lose some of the authenticity of in-person interviews, as it is sometimes difficult to gauge body language and emotion through a monitor compared to in person. Johnson et al. In 2019 said that conducting qualitative interviews in person is usually presented as the gold standard, with other modes being seen as inferior. What were the ethical and legal issues revolving around my story? As with any article and the work behind it, the relevant rules, such as the NUJ Code of Conduct, had to be followed in order to maintain journalistic standards with regards to this piece of work. This was particularly relevant when writing up responses from my interviewees, as I made sure that their contributions were accurate and exact based on what they had said to me. I also made sure that the information that I was writing in my article was factually correct, as failing to do so could get me into trouble with individuals and or organisations. And Paleza in 2019 said that accuracy is a central norm in journalism and at the heart of the journalistic practice. And here is a picture, here is a slide of the references that I used. This is the first slide, and this is the second slide. Thank you very much for listening, and I will appreciate any feedback that you give.